Okay, Gemini, I'm going to go through a few back testing examples here to see what happened in the YM market before I ever started doing this type of setup. And we're going to look at a few and we're going to see if we can figure out if they make sense. Okay. Let's go back to December 23rd at 11:30. Let's see, yeah. Let's see, the 10:30, the 10:15 candle. That's perfect, right? A lot of times we like that that 10:15 candle, which is the fourth candle to be the trigger candle. So we're going to be looking at the trigger and different types of trigger candles. We're going to be naming different types of trigger candles, and we're going to see if you agree. So example number one, we had a market that had pushed down pre-market, and then the moment 9:30 New York hit, it blasted up above the 200, kind of vibrated above the 200 once, twice, and then a much more solid push up here. Although it had a top wick, I've learned a lot about the top wicks and working with you, Gemini. That down pushing action, when it fails to turn the candle red, that's a failure of shorts. So I've learned that. But anyway, we did have the situation here where the price action did sort of come over the 200, bounce a little bit off of here. We didn't have a color change yet. Bounce a little bit off it here, and we did have a color change with this bounce. Even though it was a doji, it turned out to be a red doji, right? And then we had this trigger candle. Even though it had a top wick, I still like it as a trigger candle. So there was that one, and I'm going to call that the resumer. That trigger candle, I'm going to call that the resumer trigger candle. And then we had a very nice push on the entry here. So we're going to look at that one as as example number one, and we're going to call that number one. Okay, let's go on to number two. You tell me whether or not you agree with each one of these. Okay, so that was number one. Do you agree or disagree whether that qualified under our rules of our setup? Number two, the trap. Okay, now this one we had price drifting up pre-market. As soon as the opening bell hit, we had a major push to the downside. I've taken a lot of the 4 hour value gaps off because they've been mitigated, but some of them I had done additional markings, which I have not removed. And this one, so I know there was a 4 hour fair value gap low at this point, okay, on Wednesday, December 24th. So that makes sense that it would bounce off that. But that's not what I'm buying. I'm buying the fact that it was an engulfing candle and engulfing all of this price action here of the pre-market, almost the entirety. Yeah, as a matter of fact, the more I look at it, the more I see it engulfed the entire pre-market price action. And to me, that's a trap. So that happened at the 9:30 candle. So the entry would be 9:45. And it looks like we probably would have done just fine with that one if we had not been spooked out by this top wick. Okay, if we were just holding on for our 1-to-1 or 1.5-to-1 or 2-to-1. Lately, I've been setting my target at 1.5-to-1 or any obvious resistance, whichever comes first. So I think that would have been fine. Okay, so that was number two. Number three, we had another trap here, and this one didn't really do as well. The engulfing pattern was again at the 9:30 candle, and it did engulf several periods prior. It did go up. I'm sure it would have been stopped at break even, or might have taken a small profit on this one because it came up and then it came back down again and started going down. But then there was another opportunity here. So I'm not too worried about this. I think this probably would have been a break-even trade, but at least I don't think I would have lost money because it did jump from 49.022 all the way up to 49.069, which is about 47 points, almost 50 points from the entry. So I think if you can't, at least take a break even off almost 50 points, I don't think I think you're not doing something intelligently. Okay. Now, over here, we had price come back down and kind of waffle back and forth across the line, and then it opened and closed completely above the line, and then we had another one that was straddling, and then we had a strong push down, and then we had kind of a little bit of a bounce up, and then we had a wick that wicked up to the 200 and then finished red. Okay, MACD was red. This one obviously is not giving us a lot of very clear signals, but that's okay. So MACD did finish red on the end of this resumer candle. I'm going to call this a resumer, and I do believe that the price action did fall from there a little bit, maybe even for a 1-to-1, enough for a 1-to-1 if my stop was above the high of this candle, which I guess it probably would have been given that that was a top wick, and I like to put my stop above the swing high. So I think that one would have worked out. What do you think about that one? That one is, let's call that example number 4. Is that the 4th one we've done? Let's see. That was 1, that was 2, that was 3, that was 4. Okay, so that was number 4. So tell me whether or not you think number 4 was a good trade, a good entry. And let's see, we've got at least one more here. I'm going to call number 5 the resumer. I should be marking these, I'm sorry. So in this one, we had a situation where we kind of went back and forth. I mean, it's possible I would have looked at this and thought that this could qualify as a short, but yeah, I might have done that. I might have done that, and it might have gone nowhere. Probably wouldn't have stopped me out. It might have stopped me out up here. Actually, it might just have. But if I was putting my stops several points above the wick, the most recent swing high, which would be here, so it's possible. It's possible I would have looked at this one as a resumer. This one right here as a resumer. But if I had, I don't think I would have been stopped out, because I usually like to put my stops, several points above, and this one only went about 5 points above. So yeah, I think they were just trying to run a few stops and then jang it, bam it down. So this particular one, I think my entry would have been here. This was a resumer with a straddling resumer. I have to make sure that the MACD was in line. And MACD was pointing down when this candle completed. This looks like a reasonable trade to take. Price came down, drifted back up to the line, put in a green bar at the line, and then a red bar, matching red bar at the line, and the next couple candles were down. So I think it's probably fair to say that this would be a resumer. So that would be number 6. This is number 5, and this would be number 6. So okay, there's 6 examples. Tell me what you think of each of the 6.